Oh, hello, and welcome to Adente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. D stands for evil.
I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have Jane the Killer, the real story. So, yeah, this is our second Jeff the Killer story that was suggested to us by Amusing Moose.
Thanks.
We're probably going to take a break from Jeff the Killer stories because, like, at least just like for the time being.
Why would we do that?
We got to recoup from the for the next one, which is the last one that was recommended, which is very long. We'll save that one, maybe for the anniversary episode this year. But yeah, Jane the Killer, the real story. This is almost like a response story to the original creepypasta that like Jane the Killer came out of, which was Jane's Letter. Which
Not almost, it absolutely is.
Oh yeah. But I mean, I'm pretty sure that was like that was like the first creepypasta that introduced Jane the Killer.
Oh, I thought you meant the first creepypasta in general.
Yeah. No. That would make no sense whatsoever. Yeah, but so and Jane's Letter, I actually looked back at it like yesterday when I was getting my notes together for this. So that was like in the before times. that was before Mikey. That was before Gamer. It was me and Dr. Leviathan. During 2015 on episode 65, where we did Jane's Letter and then we did Jeff the Killer versus Jane the Killer. A little bit of trivia there. Listening back to that episode just to see like what our opinion was of it, it wasn't very positive.
Shocker.
Yeah. And Jane's Letter, like our discussion of Jane's Letter was all of like maybe 6.5 minutes. Of the episode.
The story is.
Yeah, and the episode itself was like only like 34 minutes. So we like, man, things have changed over the years. Things have gotten longer.
A little bit.
But yeah, so in Jane's Letter, it's a Motorola cell phone with a picture and a letter from Jane the Killer next to a baby in a crib, and her parents have been killed. In a similar way that Jeff killings happen, but then we find out from the letter and from like the like image that's on the Motorola, that the killer wasn't actually Jeff the Killer, it was Jane the Killer, and she's hunting Jeff the Killer and trying to kill, I guess, victims of Jeff before he does. And then that's
until they're dead, though. Right?
Yeah.
Targets of Jeff.
It's like, don't worry, I'll save you from Jeff. Stab. Like that's kind of the impression I got from it. It's like
whole story,
yeah, and the story itself is like it's 2 paragraphs. One paragraph that like covers like what the police found in the home and like where they found the like the items and the letter and stuff. And then the other paragraph is the actual letter that's by Jane. So yeah, Jane has this deep-seated hatred for Jeff the Killer. Presumably because of what he did to her and such. And then this story that we're covering today, Jane the Killer, the real story, is sort of, it is a direct call out to that creepypasta. And how people like what people think about Jane the Killer and like this is Jane the Killer basically trying to air out what really happened, like from her point of view kind of thing. So this was posted on Jeff the Killer on the Jeff the Killer wiki, and it was posted by ImGonnaBeThatGuy. I'm not sure if they are the original author. There is no real like credit to the author for this one. So I mean, presumably it's by Jane, but that's in lore, not out of game. But yeah, so yeah, it's by I'm Gonna Be That Guy, or it's posted by I'm Gonna Be That Guy on Jeff the Killer Wiki. You can check it out there. It actually has a link at the very top for go to the original Jane's letter, so you can get some context as to what she's going on about with like how that story's wrong compared to like what she really experienced. But yeah, before we get too far ahead, we've already done so much already. Let's give our initial recommendations. I'm gonna partially recommend it.
I'm not going to recommend it.
I'll give it a partial. I
Yeah,
hate the amount of times I'm saying partial in Jeffuary.
Yeah, I felt a little bad. Like I do kind of feel a little bad for like being such a manic gremlin last week, last episode with like Jeff the Killer, that Jeff the Killer story. But like I still stand by like what I like my feelings on it. But I'll try and be a little less like manic in this one.
Fine.
So, but yeah, I suppose we'll move on to the rundown. So the story is being laid out to us by Jane the Killer herself, who doesn't agree with the original Jane's letter story and how she's been portrayed, as I said earlier. She goes into how she was Jeff's neighbor across the street when they moved into the neighborhood, and tells Jeff's iconic origin story, if you can call it that. But from her point of view, we get her side of things as sort of an outside observer watching Jeff's high school misery spiral into him becoming a killer and such. Jane even tries to befriend Jeff over the course of all this, though is wary of him for his very aggressive nature when it comes to like fending off against Randy and the bullies. Like she gets to see how he reacted to like Randy and them, and he was like a demon or like very ferocious in his attack on them. She even tries to help extinguish the flames at the I do in quotes iconic birthday party scene where
in this, I guess it is in this sort of context.
Because like it's the Jeff it is technically the Jeff the Killer story, but told from somebody's other point of view that was in the area or that was in the story. But yeah, so she tried to extinguish the flames during that party scene. That sent Jeff to the hospital, but upon seeing his horrifically burned body, screams and passes out. She wakes up in the hospital with a minor head injury and is thanked by Jeff's parents for attempting to help. Some time goes by and people at school begin talking, especially her friends, about how like Jeff like was beaten up by the bullies, and then also for her friends' side, how they keep accusing Jane of having a crush on Jeff. When Jeff gets out of the hospital, his parents plan to invite Jane and her parents over for dinner. But when Jane sees Jeff get out of the car from the hospital, she is horrified by the horrid and psychotic look he has, screams and faints. Not the first or last time in the story she will have such a reaction. And yeah, and then she when she wakes up, she's at home. She's up in her bed, in her nightgown. Hours later, it's dark out, and no one seems to be around. Like none of her parents in the house. She finds a letter in the kitchen from Jeff that says he has her parents and friends over for dinner, and that she's like they're waiting for her. So she gets kind of freaked out, grabs a knife, goes over to Jeff's house, but sees him up close when she opens the door, screams and faints, and then wakes up at the dinner table where all her friends, her parents, and Jeff's family are all dead, like sitting in on chairs, with smiles carved into their faces, like the Glasgow smile kind of thing.
Screams and she faints.
Yeah. Oh no, she tries, but she's gagged. So the gag actually prevents her from passing out several times, actually, in this moment in the scene. Jeff then wishes to make Jane as beautiful as he is now, as a favor for a friend, and douses her in bleach and gasoline and lights her up. She passes out from the burning pain and wakes up in the hospital yet again, The nurse exclaims that the house went up in flames and her parents are truly dead. More time passes in the hospital as she heals. She discovers how burnt and horrid she looks, not unlike Jeff's origin and not unlike Jeff's appearance. And Jeff himself has been sending flowers to her, and even a gift of a dress, a mask, a wig, and her kitchen knife that she brought over to the house. Like sending parcels, not like actually showing up to the hospital, but sending like these packages and stuff like that. Like that night after she gets the gift of the dress and all that stuff, Jane flees the hospital in her new getup, but vows revenge on Jeff the Killer. She clarifies that unlike some of the stories that have been made of her previously, she hasn't been killing people before Jeff and is only hunting him. She signs off this story, presumably to post it here on the wiki or wherever, as a new night for hunting has begun. Finn.
Quick aside, I don't think she straight up says that like she hasn't killed people before or after.
Let me double check that. Yeah, I'll make a quick addendum there. That's what I got the impression of, but I might have read that wrong.
The impression of it, but when you actually read it, it doesn't actually say it.
Yeah.
At no point does she say that like these accusations of me being a murderer are false. She just says that they're grossly exaggerated, which still sounds like she kills people.
Yeah, I kind of got the impression that like the whole thing of like her killing people so that Jeff can't kill her, I think those are like false. Is kind of the impression I got, but I might be just like looking into it, or might be adding my own bias to it. So, but yeah, regardless, that's the story of Jane the Killer, the real story. So I suppose we should move on to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions at this point. So we're going to start with this. I feel like this story just really needed a big old round of editing before going up because there's a lot of minor, and I'm going to preface it, there's a lot of minor issues in the grammar, like missing words and stuff like that, and I'm going to bring them up if you're okay with that, guys. If you bear with me, I'm going to bring up a bunch of them that I caught, and there's a fair amount.
It's not like we have a whole section for grammar.
Yeah, I know.
We can't do this.
I know. I'm certainly not going to make do a timestamp so people can just skip the Grammar Inquisition and get to the meat of bones of the story, or the meat of bones of our discussion. But yeah, so I'm going to start with this one here. He was even the reason why my parents drove me to school instead of letting me take the bus like everyone else. So I feel like you should just remove the there. So it's like drove me to school instead of letting me take the bus like everyone else.
Instead of them letting me take the bus.
Oh yeah, that could also work. Yeah. Yeah, them or just remove the there. But yeah, I get them. I didn't even think of them. And then, what?
Think of who?
Moving on.
Okay.
Next thing I have here is we all knew Randy's group had knives and threatened to use them on us. We ever told anyone about the money they took from the other kids on the block. Everyone except the new kids they were trying to intimidate like the rest of us. So first off, I feel like it needs an if there in the first sentence. So it's like threatened to use them on us if we ever told anyone about the money, blah blah blah. And then in the second sentence, I think it needs a to, not the. So everyone except the new kids, they were trying to intimidate like the rest of us. And then my next one here. It was wussy thing to do. I had better things to do than watch another kid hand over his money to Randy. So I feel like it should be it was a wussy thing to do, but then comma, but I had better things to do. So like take that first.
Thing to do.
What?
Or the wussy thing to do.
Yeah, it was the wussy thing to do, or either one would work. But also like remove that period after the but, and make that and actually put a comma before the but, so that it is all one sentence rather than like a really short sentence and then the next sentence, because they're basically like contributing to the same like thought. So, and then my next one here. Troy only went down with a single punch. There's an I in the punch.
Fucking punch.
Fucking punch. Yeah. So yeah, punch, punch. Not don't have an I in between U and N. But I'll move on to the next one here. Since my parents' policy was no cops, ever since my dad got framed by a narc cop when he wanted to draw attention off of himself, when police were investigating the case of the missing coke. So I kind of, so that's all one sentence. First off, like that's about two or three. Yeah, it's a run on. So I kind of I tweaked it a little bit, and so this is what I got. My parents had a policy of no cops, period. Ever since my dad got framed by a narc cop when he wanted to draw attention off of himself, comma, when police were investigating a case of a case of missing coke. I also removed the case of the missing coke to actually like be just like kind of a case of missing coke.
Sounds like it's the case that we already know about from previously.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Also,
did you say were twice there? Like were, comma?
I don't know if I did, but yeah, like the were in the sentence, in the actual sentence, it's when police were investigating, like where as in like where are you? And so I just fixed it to when police were investigating a case of the missing coke.
My rewrite is pretty similar as well.
Okay.
Mine I just went with my parents' policy was no cops ever since my dad got framed, period. A dirty narc cop wanted to draw attention off himself when some coke went missing, so threw my dad under the bus. Which is essentially what he's saying.
Yeah, I kind of like that better. Fair enough. Yeah, I like that one honestly better than mine. So
okay. I'll take it.
Move on to the next one here. Nobody but me knew what Jeff really was. Period. A freak. Period. So I feel like a colon should replace that period. Like that's that first period. So it's like nobody but me knew what Jeff really was. Colon. A freak. Just because like as like here like nobody knew what he was. And then like here's what he was. Like here's my example. Like here's what I'm presenting of what he is.
If that happened, wouldn't we be coming back saying there shouldn't be a colon there because that's normally for a list of multiple things?
I
would just ellipses it out.
Yeah, maybe ellipses as well. I don't know. Like I think I've seen like a colon used in this manner, but maybe I'm wrong.
Probably.
Yeah. Wait, that I'm wrong, or that I've seen it before?
Yes.
Damn it. I'll move on to the next one. Nobody could gotten away with something like that. So I feel like it should be nobody could have gotten away with something like that, or could have, with a contraction. And then my next one here, and I know this is dialogue, but fuck it. I heard that he punched Randy so hard in nose that it came out the back of his head. So a little caveman speech. I feel like there should be Yes, sir.
No, go ahead.
So hard in the nose.
Yes.
Yeah. And then another. I've actually started like abbreviating. I know it's dialogue, but to IKIDB, like IKIDB.
Yeah.
In my notes. It's like I know it's dialogue.
Said that many times.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like twice now. Is the story at least I think is like, oh fuck it. But so here's the line. Listen, there was 2 boys that were brought in with you that had burns. And no, I'm not letting you see them just because he's your boyfriend. So at the top there, right at the start there, I feel like if she listened, there were 2 boys that were brought in, rather than there was 2 boys. But then again, it is dialogue, so like maybe they had a slip up, or like maybe that's how they talk.
Yeah, but she wouldn't. She didn't have a recorder on her. She's remembering this from the past, so she would be remembering it the way that you would formulate a sentence without errors.
Fair, yeah. So it should be were. And then this other dialogue, this is a dialogue hiccup, I think, but like here's the whole dialogue. The fuck? I turned around, surprised. It was Marcy. So there's one quotation at the very beginning to like hint that, or like to notate that there's this is a dialogue, but then they forget about the end quote, so it just goes on.
No, they don't.
They don't?
It turns to italics.
No.
How does it feel?
No. But yeah, there should still be a quote, an end quote after the fuck.
Yes, absolutely.
Motherfucker.
You know what's funny too? When I copy and pasted that in my notes to make this note, it came in not italics on the italics part, so I had to turn on italics in my notes. But the italics on this font of just Times New Roman looks so much different than standard Times New Roman. So like italics work in the right font when they're skewed enough.
Yeah,
but not in that one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there is no like. Well, I guess it probably has like a uniform like formatting, but like the actual like font, it like dictates like how exaggerated it looks.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I have here is, ironically, I don't want to get stabbed in the back while I was. Or sorry, I didn't want to get stabbed in the back while I was looking for it. And if I went to ask one of the neighbors for help, Jeff could kill or hurt whoever he have captive. So, yeah, it should be had captive, not have captive.
Or just he captured.
Yeah.
Or he had captured.
Yeah, he had captured, but like that have needs to go away.
Yeah.
And then the next one. As I got closer to front door of his house, I began to slow down. It just needs a the there, so it's like, as I got closer to the front door of his house.
Brain was slowing down though too. Hence the caveman speech.
Yeah, she is like panting and like getting like hyperventilating and some of that is like, yeah. I told
remember,
you guys,
this is a recollection of the past, so she isn't like that now.
Yeah, she should be just typing it normally because, like, yeah, unless like, oh, I'm starting to lose daylight. Damn it, must type faster. Yeah, again, I told you guys that there's going to be a lot of like little like nitpick and like minor issues in the grammar that I'm picking at. So, next one here. Before I knew it, I was standing completely still on the front doorstep, panting like a dog. I manned up, grabbed the doorknob, squeezed my eyes shut, and jerked it open. So first off, before needs a capital B because it's the start of a sentence. But secondly, I added a bunch of commas into the second sentence because there is no like commas there. So it's like I manned up, grabbed the doorknob, squeezed my eyes shut, and jerked it open.
Yeah.
So it's like I manned up, comma, grabbed the doorknob, comma, squeezed my eyes shut, and jerked it open. It only needed 2, but
it adds a lot, though.
It needed those 2. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Next one here. Suddenly, he was beside with knife against my throat. So I feel like it should be suddenly he was beside me with the knife against my throat.
Yeah, I thought that too. Like, technically it works as it is, but it's a lot better if it says beside me.
Yeah. And then the next one here, Jane, again, I know this is dialogue, but Jane, I'm your nurse, Jackie. I don't know how to say this, but you family died in the fire.
Clearly, she doesn't know how to say it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Your family died in the fire is what it should say. You family died in fire. It just goes like, I'm Nurse hello, I'm Nurse Jackie Caveman.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I'll move on to the next one. When I looked into the mirror, I dropped it onto hang on. Did I? When I looked into the mirror, I dropped in onto the floor. That's what it was. Yeah. So it says I dropped in, and it should be I dropped it onto the floor. And then my last grammar inquisition. That night, when everyone was asleep and when everyone was either asleep or gone home, I sneaked out. I feel like it should be I snuck out. But yeah, and that is my grammar inquisition. So Mikey, the E stands for evil.
All right. I believe I have one. I couldn't have called 911 anyway. The batteries in my phone was dead. So
Oh
either
shit!
change it
Yeah,
to battery in my phone was dead, or the batteries in my phone were dead.
yeah, because either like it's a home phone thing where like it's like one of those like cordless phones that like takes like two AA's, or it's a cell phone that only has like one battery pack. So
Yeah.
I actually have that in my actual thoughts, like that quote specifically in my actual thought. Just because of like how I can hold off if you want, like until we actually go to actual thoughts for that.
Yeah, I don't have any thoughts on it. Just
Okay.
on grammar inquisition.
Okay. Well, yeah, I assumed you had the grammar or the Oh yeah, right, yeah.
All right, and then I have a conjunction junction.
There it is. Yeah, I like reading through the story. It's like I could be picking away at like the buts and ands and all that stuff. It's like no,
Point.
that's Mikey. I'm not stealing Mikey's job.
We got an app for that.
Yeah, Mikey or Mike 3, as we found out.
Yeah, well, when did you
Backwards
change your
E.
name to Mike 3 in Discord, by the way?
Well, it's still an E. It's just it's backwards.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
Like leet speak, I get that.
or
Question
it is
remains:
literal-
when did that get changed?
see, well, it's this is clearly future Mikey from the future. Like he's been cyberized. He's a cyber
Oh, I
demon
see.
now.
Gotcha.
It's actually Mike 3.0. The 0.0 is silent. But yeah. And next stop,
the backwards E is an additional letter in the Latin alphabet.
Oh,
So it's an actual letter. It's not the number 3.
okay.
Question: do you know Latin?
No.
Should you be using that then?
Latin lesson.
Well, I figure it's an E and it's backwards, so it pretty well stands for evil.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's entirely fair.
Yes.
Anyway, conjunction junction.
Yes.
And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
It was a nice neighborhood, and the house was relatively cheap considering where it was. But it's too soon to talk about that now. It was wussy thing to do, but curiosity got the better of me, and I looked up a few seconds later. Or at least I did. My parents came in after the part where Randy stole their wallet, so they didn't know the whole truth. It was disturbing watching Jeff fight. It seemed they were going to be all right. It ended with my dad quitting the force. But when I try to look at anything now, it all seems gray. But he really was enjoying himself. It wasn't because he was excited to be at school, I could tell that much from him. It was the smile of a madman. But I was wrong with who they arrested. But who wouldn't be in that situation? It took so long for the rumors to get started, because everyone was afraid to talk about Randy getting his ass handed to him. But the kids were getting so loud that I decided to close my window. But he couldn't hear me over the sound of the kids screaming. But no sooner had I poked my head out the window, I heard the whoosh of a fire and the screaming. It was at the time for me horrifying. But now it sounds like music to me, and there's nothing I want to hear more in the world than him screaming. It warms my heart to see selfless people in your generation. It would be an honor. It's settled then. But the only people I told about what happened were my friends, Danny, Marcy, and Erica. Or maybe it was nothing like that at all. It was Lou. It was Marcy. And with his own brother nonetheless. It looks like we'll be having that free dinner in a few days. But what I expected Jeff to look like couldn't be farther from what I saw. But Jeff looked right at me. But the phone line was disconnected. So there was only one choice. But I knew what I had to do. It was my parents, Jeff's parents, his brother Lou, and my friends. It was the smell of death. It's not polite to scream at friends. But I looked away when I saw his face again and looked back to the table. It'll be all over soon. It looks like the same person who sent you all these flowers got you a package too. It was a white mask with black around the eyes and a black feminine smile. It also had black lace covering the eye holes of the mask, so even though someone couldn't see my eyes, I could see them. So I put it on, and I found a pair of shoes outside in the hallway, forgotten by some careless nurse. So this is my story. Finn.
Wow.
A lot more in there than I thought in regards to sentences that start words with they probably shouldn't, like it, sends, or buts, because there's always better words to use.
Indeed. Nice segue there. nice integration of the outro there, or the the explanation. Honestly, like, there's a part at the beginning there where it's like it's the sentence. One sentence ended with a butt, and then the next one started with a butt. It was just all I could think of was like how Wolverine says "bub" a lot. So it's like, so the story was just like Jane, just like this is like can't believe this, but just going in, just yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, Gamer, do you have anything for Grammar in Yellow?
I think I got a couple left. I think I got one left, actually.
I don't think I have anything left.
No, I got none. By the time Nurse Jackie came back, the present was hidden under my bed. I told her all that was there was the flowers. She seemed to be disgusted by them, so threw them out. I thanked her for that. So, first off, weird that she's disgusted by flowers, unless I'm misunderstanding that. Like, that's a note interjected in here, but...
Those are actually, like, those are the black roses, or the black flowers. But yeah, I, like, black
flowers.
Like, those are the ones that came with the package of that...
the mask and...
Yeah, the mask and all that stuff. They were black.
Flowers in there.
Yeah, there were. Give me a second. I'm looking it up because I'm pretty sure I read black flowers in there.
I don't think so.
Give me a second here.
I sounded like Bane there for a second.
You adopted the typos. I was born in them.
White mask, black around the eyes. Also had black lace covering the holes of the mask. Blah 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 blah. It's also a long black dress with a turtleneck, black gloves, and a black wig, along with all these things. Along with those, a bouquet of black roses and a sharp kitchen knife. I somehow missed that.
But like, why would you be disgusted by black roses if they're like fresh black roses? Because like, unless they were like wilting black roses, but I don't know. It just seemed it seemed kind of odd. I guess like maybe people don't like fresh black roses, but
here's the thing: she delivered her a box, a pink box with a brown string on it, and said, "Here's the box." And then she left to go get food, and then the box was hidden, and then Jane said, all that was in there was flowers, which disgusted the nurse. So the nurse never saw the flowers. Well, she heard was that there's flowers in there.
So I think what it's supposed to say was that like, so she hid the box but kept the flowers out, basically, as like a cover for that. I think that's what it was like that they were kind of going for there. Like the flowers were left out so that like she had like an excuse of what was in the box. What's in the box?
But if the Oh, okay. So it was a big box that came in with a bunch of shit. One of which was flowers, which she took out and left out there.
Yeah.
Okay, that was not clear.
No,
hence, the need for grammar here. The correction I did was like I told her it was just flowers in the box. Would be like a proper way to make that clear, because I don't know. I just didn't like the way it flowed through saying I told her all that was there was the flowers, because it's referring to the flowers like we already know what the flowers are.
Yeah.
Which I guess technically we do, because I missed that last time.
Yeah, that bouquet of black roses, yeah.
Mm. So maybe that's a nitpick, but it's fine.
I don't think so. It doesn't specifically say that like she had the flowers out. So like it just sort of insinuates that the nurse saw them and wanted to throw them out, and she was thankful for it. So it's like, they could have added a little bit extra.
Yes, so it should be something like I handed her the bouquet of black flowers and said, it was just these in there, can you get rid of them? And she'd be like, okay, thanks. Ew, they're gross. Then okay, I would at least understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that's all I got.
Okay. Then we should move on to was there actually like a typo thing there, or was that just
yes, the correction? It's not a typo, it's a I don't understand this. This needs more information to make it so everyone can understand it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Then I suppose we'll move on to actual thoughts then. My first impression of Jeff was that he was a good kid. Probably got nice grades, rarely got into fights, maybe even a cool guy if he opened up to someone. So, despite this being kind of the same, like, again, the origin story of Jeff the Killer, but also of Jane the Killer as well, I do like the POV of Jeff the Killer's original origin here, being like told from like somebody else who was there that became a killer. Like, I kind of like that element in this.
Technically, Jane isn't a killer at all.
No, she's but she becomes a
someone with the intent to kill, theoretically.
Yeah, the intent to kill, or exactly. Like this is her origin story, but it's also it's taking the Jeff the Killer origin story and actually like giving us, that's actually something that like, so again, reading and listening to our previous like comments about like Jane's letter told us nothing about why Jane hated Jeff, like really. Yeah. Whereas this actually is giving us the proper context as to like why, like we get basically the full context of like how her story and his story are interwoven in that original origin story that gave Jeff the Killer his whole thing.
Yes.
And then it's just that Jane basically like basically right after Jeff the Killer's origin story happened and like he killed his family, he then went next door and killed the girl next door that he liked, that was like the one girl that was like nice to him, and basically like tormented her in this and kind of pulled her down with him. And that's where her hatred comes from.
At the end of the original Jeff story, was it said that he burned the house down?
No, he just like he killed his parents and then he told his brother to go to sleep.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where it ended.
Was
but then this
Lou
one
there? in this final scene?
I
don't think he was.
I said I was about to say confidently, but then like suddenly I was like second guessing myself because like was he? Which would make because I was actually going to comment about that. I don't think I got around to putting it in my notes, but like because like I guess in this version of the Jeff the Killer mythos, Lou's dead because we don't get homicidal Lou. But if he's
alive. He probably just told him, like, go to bed, Lou. I got shit to do. Like, not actually trying to kill him this time. Because unless he's just dead in his bed, he didn't bring him down to the table.
Yeah, or again, like because he's not there, like he's not. He's basically we got leeway for it. Like Lou will survive and become another killer like his brother. So we do. So there is a chance that homicidal Lou is still in this canon of Jeff the Killer mythos.
Right?
yeah, right. Yeah, hooray!
I don't remember if I liked Homicidal Lou or not. I probably didn't because it's a Jeff the Killer story.
He was kind of like the Batman to Jeff's Joker.
Oh, okay.
He was sort of like his at least like from what I remember his stories were more like more of a vigilante than like the psychotic like the vigilante style killer versus like what Jeff was.
Basically going after bullies or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I remember. Yeah, it's been a hot minute since we did Homicidal Lou.
Yeah,
so that sounded bad.
A little bit.
Moving on. yeah. Sorry. I'll move on to the next thing I have. So when we heard sirens, we went into the backyard, got into the car, and left. So for some reason, as I read this, like through your backyard driveway access.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Like I guess like I do know, like I know like the way some like layouts are on properties, like your garage is usually in the like some garages are in the backyard as well, or like adjacent. Yeah. So like your car could be like right next to the backyard, basically. But it just seemed like because like as soon as you pull out, like if you're like worried about cops and stuff like that, and like don't want to be having to do with this, you get into your car and like not peel out, but like leave like your driveway as cop cars are coming. They might trail you and like tell you to like stop because like you might know something.
It was better than staying there.
Yeah, well, I for some reason, like I know, well, this is also like in the morning, but like when I first read this as like an idea for like how you could fix this is like they went to the backyard and started barbecuing. But then I was like, oh no, it's in the morning. That makes no fucking sense. But yeah, it was just a weird. Oh, it kind of makes sense, like, but it also is just kind of a weird way of saying like we got into the backyard, and got into the car, and left. Like maybe we went to the driveway, or we got out to the side drive, got in the car, and left. Maybe.
The whole problem is like maybe you're supposed to go through the backyard to get to the garage to go and get the car. Like maybe that's totally normal, but it's confusing to say so, and it adds absolutely nothing to the story to say so. Because they could very easily just say we went out to the driveway, got in the car, and left, and nothing would change. Aside from we would understand it more, not question more things.
Yeah, we would not be like picking at this as like being very pedantic or just being like just like being silly with this. It's like, well, like what? Do they have like a backyard access? I mean, I know those exist, or like did they have to go back?
I'm not being silly with this. Like I legitimately was questioning that at the time. Like I'm not just bringing this up just as a joke.
Okay, good. But yeah, so it seemed odd, like an odd choice, odd way of phrasing that. But yeah,
and for unnecessary information as well.
Yeah,
if it led to something like they had to go out the back door because like Jeff was watching the front or something, then like okay, but there's no reason.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of unnecessary thing, we got this quote here, which is what I mentioned earlier with Mikey in the Grammar Inquisition. I was able to grab the phone and dial 911 when I heard Troy and Keith shout, "No one interrupts or guts will fly." I looked out the window again and saw that they both had matching guns in their hands. I couldn't call for help then without endangering the lives of others. I couldn't have called 911 anyway. The batteries in my phone was dead or were dead. So I kind of spent a little bit of time like mulling over this thing, because something just didn't quite feel right. It felt like you should have just said you couldn't call the cops because of the phone was dead, or because you were scared people would get hurt. The way it's worded to me, it felt like it was the character was just trying to like make excuses for why they didn't call the cops.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And I know in these sort of circumstances, like that hesitation is real, of like not calling the cops, or like because you're afraid and stuff like that.
But her whole life, her dad has raised her to not trust the cops.
Yeah, exactly, that too. But like from a writing stance, like less might be more in this case. Like rather than like, or if you do want to have both, maybe something along these lines. Even after hearing the threats, I mustered up the courage to call 911, only to discover my phone was dead. Like maybe like that was what like that could have happened, but like the way it's phrased, it kind of seemed like they were just keep adding on like excuses.
Yeah. It's like they know that the reader is going to say, "Well, why didn't you try calling?" It's like, "Well, because of this and that and the other." And I'm not going to bring up the fact that we have a landline and I didn't even check it.
Yeah, well, they could have like, because for some reason I kept thinking it was like a cordless one, like one of those like ones that like on a docking station in your house. But like that's never mentioned in the story. That's just like my headcanon, or my head, like how I visualized it, theater of the mind. And then she says that she goes hunts down her dad's cell phone. It's like, oh, that could have been her cell phone. But like for some reason it went like went immediately wireless phone. But I digress. I'll move on. So you're the girl who ran in with the fire extinguisher, Margaret said. Yes, I replied, quietly embarrassed. Is your son all right? He just came out of surgery a few hours ago. The doctor said he'll be fine. Fine seems like a strong word, given what happened. I suppose...
Fine as in, like, he survived. He's not going to die because of his injuries.
Yeah, and I also... I suppose that, like, maybe she said, like, oh, he'll be fine. Like, the doctor said he'll be fine, like, as a way of just, like, kind of, like, so not... As to not, like, spark any, like, distress. Or even the doctor told that to the parents, like, oh, yeah, he'll be fine. Just to, like, not to, like, worry them too much about his condition and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just like when I first read it, it's like, I mean, he's burned like 90% of his body, but he's fine. The next one
weird is like they didn't like do any psychiatric work on him after that, knowing that he's just like probably sitting there just smiling crazily the whole time when he's in the hospital.
I mean, that's
like they didn't think to check to see if he's okay.
Yeah, that's kind of also like a jab at the original game, or the original story.
Yeah, I don't think he would be released.
No. It's like, oh no, he's fine. He's smiling. Of course he's fine. By the way, this is Derplin Memorial Hospital. But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. About 2 days passed, and I was allowed to be released from the hospital. During that time, I had no contact with Jeff or his family, but I heard that Lou was released from jail, and Jeff's wounds were healing. Strangely enough, this is starting to read as though like things are going to work out fine, like nothing's going to be like really bad. I wonder when the ball's going to drop. Update. It does, of course, happen. Like this, but it was like a nice kind of like reading of like almost like a false good story, like a good ending, or like calm before the storm that happens.
Gotcha.
And then this is when they're at the high school and like talking to her friends and such. He also took Jane to the hospital. Maybe she was trying to beat him up too. Marcy laughed. She seemed to be the girly girl in our little group. Seemed to be? Aren't these your friends? Shouldn't you know who they are? Like it seemed to be was just sort of a weird phrasing for that. Like
maybe because like if you look at deeper into her character, she's not actually girly girl. It's just she puts on a front. But we don't get to that point before she dies, so we don't know.
Fair. Yeah. But actually, then we get on to the next thing here, which is like a bit of the dialogue between her and her friends. You can't deny it, Jane Arkansas. You have a crush on Jeff. Every blood cell in my body decided to migrate to my face at once when she said that. I immediately died from blood pressure. No, that's not the rest. That was just something I like thought of as I was reading that again.
It's a fun way to describe that happening too.
Yeah, exactly, because you're getting flush with embarrassment and such. What? No, I just wanted to help him. That's all. Liar! I saw you leave that note you left on his desk. What was it? A confession of your love for him? No, it was nothing like that at all. I was just... So you admit that you left a note then? What do you mean? I was guessing. She gave me a cynical little smile and then just waited for my response. The other girls started to laugh at me. Jane, it's only a joke. I was just kidding, Marcy smiled. Your face is redder than a tomato, Erica cackled. I hate all of you, I grumbled. Ah, high school friends and their jabs. Children are cruel.
Anything about that?
Oh, yeah, honestly, my comment here aside, like that, little comment aside, I actually found this story rather grounded in the interaction between like the friends and stuff like that. Like this felt very like well written in terms of like of like getting the interactions of characters right, like between
the interactions were believable.
Yeah. So I actually kind of enjoyed it, and we actually got like we occasionally on the show like gripe about how like we barely get to know characters, like they just seem like cardboard cutouts before they're like killed off. At least here we like they're not like entirely fleshed out, but at least we get like some character interaction to right before, and like we know that these are Jane's friends and stuff like that right before they get killed. So like there is some emotional impact when they die, when they're found dead.
Sure, because like you said, we have their personality, and we also have like the way they look. They're not just silhouettes.
Yeah, because she also goes ahead and like describes the characters and like gives their hairstyle and like kind of what they wear and such as well.
Detail too.
Yeah. Which makes it all the more cruel in terms of fate when like Jeff brings them all to the dinner party, right? So.
To their last supper.
Oh. A2 Julius or A2 Buddhist. That's completely different, but
it's fine.
Yeah. But we'll move on to the next one here. I went to the living room window and looked out. The lights were on in Jeff's house. I knew that I had to go there, but I was terrified out of my mind. I shook my head and looked back again. I saw Jeff leaning on the window in his house, staring at me with a knife in his hand and tapping it against the window. So pretty good, like thing of just like looking away from the window, looking back and something's different. But I feel like it could have been a little bit more dramatic. Like I shook my head and looked back again to the window, and suddenly he was there, or suddenly there he was, and then like goes on and it's like I saw Jeff leaning on the window in his house, staring at me, just like a little bit more punch into like the reveal that he's like there.
The whole thing is he's been staring out the window the entire time, waiting.
Well, no, because she looked out the window, saw that there were lights on in his house, and then like looked away from the window and like was like terrified, but then shook it off, looked back at the window, and he was suddenly in that window in his house again, like looking at her.
So what do you want them to do with it?
I just like no, I'm not asking for a whole lot. I'm just like looking for like just like a little bit extra at the end. There is like I shook my head and looked back again, and suddenly there he was. Like that's all I want. Just like a little bit more punch to like the reveal that he's actually like he's made his appearance on the window.
Fair enough. Instead of just saying, I looked back again and I saw Jeff leaning on the window. But it like you're basically just it's the same thing either way.
I know. I'm nitpicking a little bit. It's just like
yeah.
I just
it
feel
wouldn't
like
make it worse. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Yep.
And then my next one here. I opened my eyes, then screamed. His eyes were large and unblinking. His smile was red. He carved a smile into his face. His clothes were covered in blood, and then I passed out. When I woke up, I was at a dining room table. This is like the third time she has screamed and passed out in this story. I understand it's a thing that people do in circumstances like this, but it's starting to get old to me in the story. And then like later on, like
at this point too.
Yeah, and then like at the dinner table, she's gagged, and it seemed like the only thing that was like she screamed like a couple of times, but she was gagged, and that was the gag was the only thing keeping her from passing out.
I don't think that's how the gags work.
No, I know. Yeah, obviously not. But it's just
it is
like,
kind of weird that the most horrific part of the whole story is the one part where she doesn't pass out.
Yeah.
Like seeing Jeff being burned alive is okay. That's fair. But
yeah. But like, and like seeing what he looked like after like weeks of not seeing him, and it being like horrific, and him looking manic and psychotic. That like, okay, that's understandable, like kinda, but it kept like her reaction just kept happening like this. It was like, okay, well, we get it. She's a screamer, and then she passes out, wakes up with a popsicle stick in her mouth. And what was the other thing I was going to bring up there? No, it's gone. All right, move on. But yeah, I'll move on to the next thing. My last thing I have here, actually. Everything hurt. A nurse came in a few minutes later. Jane, can you hear me? I looked towards her. The room started to spin even more. And then we get like kind of like that Jane gets introduced to Jackie, her nurse, basically for this thing. And there's a nurse that was mentioned earlier that like was very kind of standoffish to Jane when she first came into the hospital. And it's one of those things where it's like just like a slight alteration to have it that like Jane recognized this nurse, Jackie, being that same nurse, and like her being more compassionate now than she was back then. Like maybe like just as like she had a bad day that earlier, or she wasn't like the head injury wasn't as serious, so like she wasn't being like as compassionate as she is now. Just like, I don't know, I think it would be like a nice little like kind of wraparound for like the nurse stuff.
Yeah.
Just from a writing point of view. But that is all I have for my actual thoughts. So Mikey, D stands for evil.
Okay. So I know that bleach is a thing that we've talked about with Jeff the Killer.
Yeah.
And it's here again.
Yeah.
But at least there's gasoline, which I mean,
there was also gasoline.
Light's a bit better than alcohol. I'll give it that. But still, bleach, yeah.
It's not flammable, guys. Like unless it's just used to like bleach the skin, but like her skin was also now like a leathery brown from the wounds. So like, yeah.
Just the gas and the fire is all that did anything.
Yeah. Like you just needed the gasoline, really. You didn't need the
bleach is part of the ritual to like make someone a quote unquote killer.
Yeah. For probably the umpteenth time, I've checked on Google, is bleach flammable? And according to Google, no, bleach is not flammable. But it can create dangerous situations when mixed with other substances or exposed to heat. Okay.
These times, like you're gonna Google it, and Google's gonna be like, "Look, I told you, it's not flammable. Stop Googling."
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, when it comes into contact with other compounds, it can like cause like a fire or explosive hazard. But like, I don't think that includes like gasoline. Yeah, I think it's just like it was originally used as a way of explaining why Jeff was completely like ghost pale.
Yeah. Which really did not work.
No, especially since the gasoline, like the reason why like he has jet black hair is because it was singed black by the flames.
Not burned off.
Yeah, not completely
burned. Fireworks. Yeah. Okay, we're talking about a different story now.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're still in the Jeff mythos. It's fine.
I suppose.
But yeah. Sorry, continue, Mikey.
Well, yeah, that's just the
you're like
annoyance
this again.
Yep. And then there was one thing that I did technically like, which is seeing the same events of a previous story from the eyes of someone else.
Yeah.
Like that itself is an interesting concept, and we do get that here. I just don't care for it.
That's fair. I mean, yeah.
Like on a concept level, yes, I like it, but when it's combined with Jeff the Killer, I just no.
Automatic negative points.
It has the taint of Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand. Like, I may not entirely share it, but your view here, but I do understand the distaste. But yeah, it's understandable. I do think it was a really interesting idea to have a POV of a different character who then who's also becomes tied to Jeff's insanity and misery. It's just Jeff.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's in my actual thoughts.
All right. Gamer.
Yeah, let's see what I have left to talk about. So Lou gets taken. And then it says, although I couldn't hear him from across the street, I could tell that he was crying in regards to Jeff sitting there crying because Lou was just taken. It says, but who wouldn't be in that situation? The next day, rumors were spreading like wildfire about Lou. It took so long for the rumors to get started because everyone was afraid to talk about Randy getting his ass handed to him. So as far as this story is concerned, one day is quote unquote so long. It says the next day rumors were spreading, and then it immediately follows it by saying it took so long for the rumors to get started because kind
of weird.
The next day is not a long time.
Yeah.
Should it be the next month rumors were spreading like wildfire?
Or it should have said it didn't take much time.
Yeah, or that.
Yeah.
No, but it's specifically saying that the story wants the rumors to take longer because everyone to add on to the fact that everyone is afraid of Randy.
But then they found out that Randy wasn't going to be there for a couple of days because of his injury. So then people started talking about it behind his back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's normally rumors about Randy take a long time to get started because everyone's afraid of him, but Randy was in the hospital, so the next day rumors were spreading about Lou. I guess this is technically a grammar thing.
It sort of bleeds between an actual thought and a grammar thing because it's more of just it's more of narrative structuring and such. But yeah.
Then my next one is just basically how it's kind of funny how Jane happened to witness every key point to the original story, every single one.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense, kind of.
She's stalking him.
Well, yeah, you kind of the more you think of it, from the very get-go of the story, we it's sort of she has some kind of infatuation with him, even though she's constantly watching him, he looks like a good kid, but I bet if he just had a friend or something like that, she seems somewhat infatuated with him, or sort of that kind of she might have had a crush on him, but then after what he did, they kind of pushed her.
She has a super crush on him.
Now she's got it's sort of it went from a crush to a hate crush, or to a hate infatuation.
Spiteful crush.
Yeah. That crush, that infatuation became more of an obsession of wanting to kill this person because of what they did to them. Yeah, again, it's teen emotions.
Who can understand them?
Yeah. Hell, I don't even think teens can understand them half the time.
Yeah, probably.
So much.
Then my other note is basically when the shit starts going down next door, she says gives all the reasons why can't call the cops, but doesn't attempt to do the landline or even bring up that that's an option.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this before, but I feel like I could touch on it a little bit more. Basically, when she says I wanted to go call the cops. I picked up my phone, but my phone was dead. Then I went down to try the landline. As I picked up and started dialing, I realized that if I call the cops, then he could, like, me calling the cops could cause others to die. So then I hung up the phone. So then we know, like, why better than just here's a list of excuses, which is how it's laid out.
Yeah. Also, I just realized we do have confirmation in the story that she does have a landline, because she tries calling the cops. Later on when she passed out and wakes up in her like nightgown and stuff, and she finds that the phone is disconnected. So there was a landline.
But having her use it earlier would have paid dividends, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the bullies, isn't their dad like the chief of police?
I wonder if that was the narc cop.
I mean, maybe, but is that... I'm asking a question.
Yeah, I don't know 100%.
Because I seem to recall that being part of the reason why they couldn't pick on one of the bullies, because their dad was the chief of police.
Yeah, like I think maybe Randy himself was, like, his dad was the chief of police.
At least
in somebody's story. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't think like it's hard to tell, because we've done a bunch of like reiterations or like reduxes of the Jeff the Killer origin. So like the Randy, like the character backgrounds sometimes alter depending on the one.
Yeah.
So,
well, regardless, if one of them was actually the chief of police and you were going to call, I would call the police and say, I want to ask for I need to speak to the chief of police right now. It's life and death. And then say, your son is over next door trying to kill people. I need you to come over and talk to him personally. Because if they sent normal cops, they could start shooting.
True. Yeah.
And then my next one. So she's like looking around for the dad's cell phone. It says, quickly told her my address in regards to being on the phone with 911. Oh, yeah. Okay, so she finds the phone, calls 911, says, I quickly told my address and the address of the house next door. And she said, please hurry. I said, it's okay. Just stay on the line. Bang, 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 bang. I heard loud gunshots come from next door. I yelped and dropped the phone and landed on the ground and broke. So when I imagined her finding the phone, she found it under the bed. So to me, it would make sense for her to be making the call while still close to the ground, like kneeling, sitting, or maybe still laying on the ground from reaching under the bed. So the act of it breaking while like under a foot from the ground was kind of silly to me.
Yeah, that's true. Because she'd stay low because like she just saw people with guns down outside. Like
that too, unless she did like crouch down or lay down, find it under the bed, then stand back up and make the call.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's just kind of weird how easily it breaks.
Fair. Yeah.
And my headcanon of her like being knelt down or laying on the ground from getting the phone is just that. It's my headcanon of what I saw, because it doesn't straight up say that she stood up. Like, so maybe I should just assume for the sake of the story that once a character does an action, they reset to their normal standing idle animation. Which is probably what they do.
But you know what assuming means.
It makes an ass of me and Umption.
Yes.
I fucked that up real good.
Yeah. Also, what's funny is like when I read that part where like she dropped the phone and like it fell to the ground and broke, my immediate like comment or in my mind was like, should have got an OtterBox.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, why the hell do you have hardwood flooring in your bedroom?
I actually I do know I have known people who have like wood flooring in their bedrooms.
I know.
Yeah. So it's more likely than you think. No.
For sure. Then we get to this part where it says, then I ran to my bedroom window to try to figure out what was going on, but no sooner had I poked my head out the window, I heard the whoosh of fire and the screaming. I'm going to make Jeff scream like that again when I find him. So the first time I read this, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, this whole time you've been defending Jeff and calling Randy to be the bad one here. Hence the quote-unquote Randy, you asshat that you just said a minute ago. Meanwhile, like now, all of a sudden, she hates Jeff. I'm thinking of her in the moment, but then I remembered, like, oh no, this is Jane from the current day telling a story of the past. So this is her interjecting with her future knowledge of how she hates Jeff. So I feel like this should be in brackets.
Yeah, agreed.
Because otherwise, it makes me think that this is what her thought was at the time. So, like, as soon as Jeff is being murdered, it's like, I hate Jeff. I'm going to kill him. If they don't kill him, I'm killing him. He's getting attacked by the bullies.
I have a serious question here. Is that part in italics in the story?
I'm going to fucking kill you. Yes. Scream. How many times? 14 instances of the word scream in this? Fuck. Which one is it?
I mean,
that's screamed at him. No, it's not in italics.
Okay. Yeah,
I would have cried. I would have screamed.
And then passed out. Woke up with a pasta stick in your mouth.
Mm-hmm. But yes. But I feel like... So yeah, that should either be in brackets for this one instance, or have her chiming in about current like thoughts way more often. So this isn't just a one-off.
So it is particularly like she does try to differentiate it in a way because she uses ellipses, but like that's still not enough.
No.
I agree. Like I think I think you're right. It needs like brackets. Honestly, like brackets would have helped with that.
Yeah, for sure. And then the next one is in regards to the nurse. Mm-hmm. When she wakes up and asks if the boy who burned that was burning is okay, and the nurse says one of the guys that came in. Oh no, Jane says one of the guys that came in here with me, the one with the burns, is he going to be all right? She listened, or sorry, she sighed. Listen, there were 2 boys that came in that were brought in with you that had burns, and no, I'm not letting you see him just because he's your boyfriend. Felt heat rise to my face. He's not my boyfriend. I'm just worried about him. Wouldn't you be worried about someone who you just saw burning alive in front of you? I tried to keep my voice steady, but my voice quivered enough to make it sound like I was lying. Whatever. Your parents are here, by the way. You want to see them? She asked. So as soon as I heard all this, I'm like, what the fuck? This nurse would be fired on the spot for this kind of bedside manner. Like, I suppose like the adults in the Jeff stories are often assholes, so maybe this is normal in assholington, but like, God.
I mean, I'm basing my experience here with like with TV show like hospital dramas, and I've seen people like nurses and so in those shows like really shitty bedside manner, because they're just having like a bad day or something like that. But like, yeah, it is definitely like reprehensible.
Okay, but you're basing that logic based off of shows.
Okay, but like, yeah.
I'm going to base all of my worldview on South Park from now on.
You don't already?
I already do. You're right.
Yeah, and there you go. But also, like, I imagine in the real world also, like, there are nurses that are, like, they've had bad days, so, like, they're a little grouchy when it comes to the kind of thing. But, yeah. I think, yeah.
I need to continue my notes anyway. You want to see them?
Touche, sir. Touche.
All right. Next one is in regards to her being ID'd from the scene of the fire. But who told you? I asked. I didn't think I saw anyone at the party that my family knew. The hospital called us, Mom said. Well, I guess that makes sense. It made absolutely no sense, of course. How would someone be able to identify me without me having any form of identification? When I read that, I'm like, between the dozens of people in the neighbor's house and the neighbor's parents that were there, I feel like they'd be able to ID her pretty good, considering she's the kid that lives next door.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it's like, wait, yeah, why did, like, clearly, like, whoever took you to the hospital, obviously, it's like, oh shit, it's Jane. Shit, oh, look, I like take her. Like, I was like, her, she's Jane. She just like she's next door or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, like, the police would have shown up, and the fire department, and like an ambulance. There's multiple people who could just happen to know her because she lives in this town.
Yeah,
you know,
or at least in this neighborhood. Yeah.
But if nothing else, the neighbors' parents should know her, I would think.
Yeah.
Unless this is just not a very neighborly neighborhood.
I mean, it could be, but I doubt it.
Yeah. And then we're going to jump all the way to when Jeff is at the dinner table. And it says, suddenly he was beside with knife against... That is weird. Suddenly he was beside me with the knife against my throat. Shush, shush, shush. It's not polite to scream at friends. So, like, that one-liner kind of blows, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be better to be like, it's not polite to scream at the dinner table? Or like, it's not polite to talk with your mouth full. Because she like has, because like it's all dinner related things. You're at a dinner table, Jeff. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, oh, God, both of those are zingers, man.
Yeah.
Also, it's just like shh, shh, shh.
Yeah, the triple shush is a little unnecessary. Or the quadruple shush, actually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's It definitely feels like. Yeah, it's sort of it's a pretty lame Jeff quote, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah, I guess. And then we're gonna jump to her talking about the previous story, where it says, "As for the photo that has been popping up of me saying, 'Don't go to sleep, you won't wake up,' that pretty much explains what I want to do with Jeff's victims, prevent them from being victims in the first place. Whoever said that I kill them so they don't get killed by Jeff is a gross overstatement." So, like, I get that Jane's been going through a lot, and I understand why she wants to kill Jeff. But, like I said before, that sentence does not say, or string of sentences, does not say anything that is her. Nothing there says, I do not kill these people.
Yeah, it does say. Well, it does say like, so they don't get killed by Jeff is a gross overstatement. So like maybe maybe like she's not always killing like them before. She doesn't end up killing them before like Jeff does, but like maybe she's like she's had a couple of close calls where she tried to help the person, but then they end up getting killed. So it's like,
I feel like when the entire internet is claiming that you are a murderer, just like the person you hate, I feel like you would very quickly say, I do not kill these people. I am trying to save them from him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't say that.
Yeah, it is kind of odd. Like, it's like, it is very vague. It's like, is a gross overstatement. Okay. But you still.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
them,
this
right?
entire story that we've been reading is meant to clarify like her thoughts and her motives, and
then doing a good job.
Super vague at the end.
Yeah, because it was doing a fairly decent job of that up until that line, until that quote.
Yeah, up until this point, we get the reasoning behind like what I don't even know what she does, but I get why she hates Jeff. I get why she looks the way she does. I get how she got her outfit and all that. Great. But the main thing that I would assume that she's trying to clarify is that I am not like him. But we don't get that clarification.
Yeah.
Which bugs me.
That's fair. Yeah, no, it should have clarified as like, I don't kill them, period. Yes. or like I don't mean to kill them. Like I tried to save them.
Yeah.
People have like thrown like the amount of kills I've had like grossly out of proportion. Like that's kind of what I kind of think she's trying to get is like she does kill, but she doesn't kill like nearly as many as people have been like bringing up online and stuff like that. But
like they're all accidentals from her attempting to save them from Jeff.
No, I'm picturing it's like Jane the Killer versus evil. It's like Jane,
basically, where she's like Mr. Magoo with the murders, though.
Yeah, and just like she tries to save one guy from like Jeff, like it's like, and like they're running past like a cottage or something like that with like a wood chipper, and he just dives into the wood chipper by accident or just trips into the wood chipper.
She's running to get at Jeff looks at her. She gets flustered, passes out again. The knife goes flying out of her hand, flips through the sky, just lands in the head of Jeff's victim.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she obviously passes out all the time.
Yeah, clearly. Hopefully she's past that, because like, it wouldn't be doing a very good job of like hunting Jeff.
No.
But yeah, no. Or because like it's like, yeah, she can see through that the like she has that mask, so she, and like those black velvet kind of like screens on the eyes, so that people can't see her eyes, but she can see through. I've worn masks like those. Like those are Halloween masks and stuff like that. Those things are still kind of like very hard to see through sometimes. So like she's like, I'm gonna stab you, Jeff. Stab. You're not. Oh shit, you're not Jeff.
Oh wow. That's the entire reason that she's killing people. She just happens to be accidentally killing a lot of pale guys with long black hair
and gray hoodies.
Yes.
Just a lot of gray hoodies. Just a lot of people. A lot of deaths involving gray hoodies. Or
Wow.
or just like she goes like she goes against Jeff and some of that. But bumps into somebody because she can't see, she has like very narrow vision. It's like, oh sorry, and then like that guy like what? And like falls like off a cliff or something like that.
Yeah.
Very, again, like you were saying, like Mr. Magoo kind of deaths.
Yes. It's kind of weird. Like now that you've brought all this up,
It's
weird that the mask. Oh, not even that. The mask itself. It's odd. Like, why are the eyes covered? Like, her eyes aren't messed up, unless they are, and we don't know about that because she was burned. But it's not described. So, like, do they need to be hidden at all?
I don't think so. I think it's just because in all the iconography for Jane the Killer, her eyes are specifically like blacked out.
Yeah.
So like it's basically this story's explaining why her eyes look black in the story in all the imagery and such.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we get to this part where she sneaks out, basically, from the hospital. That night when everyone was either asleep or gone home, I snuck out. Sneaked out, should be snuck out, actually. I think we talked about that.
Yeah, brother.
But the actual note is like, why? Like, so, why does she need to sneak out? What advantage does she have? What advantage can possibly come of her sneaking out of the hospital before she's released?
Yeah, it's kind of odd.
She has nowhere to go. She has no valuables. She has no home. She has no family. She has nothing. And she's also 3/4 dead because she just woke up from a coma from being burned alive.
She would not be very like stable in terms of like movement and stuff like that. Yeah.
No. So why does she just stay in the hospital, get fully healed, and then be discharged? And they might discharge her to a home somewhere for someone to help take care of her while she recovers fully.
Yeah. Or like to a family, to an extended family or something like that. Yeah. Also, I just have to say, like, I don't know if you're gonna bring this up, but like you're saying, like, oh, like why she left? She has no family, although she apparently has a really decent like family radar because she's able to like find the exact cemetery with her parents' tombstones.
That is weird. I did not bring that up, but that is weird. Yes,
I remember noting that. I was like, I'm just gonna let it go. We're getting close to the other story, but it was like, yeah, no, it's kind of weird. Like she was wandering around, and then she stopped walking and she was in front of a cemetery, and then she went inside and immediately found the 2 tombstones, probably because they were the fresh ones, that had Isabel and Gregory, Arkansas.
Oh no, she didn't immediately find them. She looked for them.
It just says I went inside and found 2 tombstones. So like, yeah, it could be like she took some time, but again, it's not said properly.
Yeah. But I assumed it took a while.
Yeah.
And also, if it's a small town, there's only one cemetery.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But and also, like, again, like she could, it probably actually would be able to, words. The grave sites probably would stand out because they'd be the freshest.
Yes.
So they might even have like still like some of the like excavating or like burying stuff still there from the funeral or something. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. My last note is basically just like story afterthoughts.
Okay.
So like at this point, her family's dead. Her house is burned down. She escaped the hospital. She has no money, and she looks like a monster.
Actually, I have to counter you something for a split second there. Her house is not burned down. It's Jeff's house that burned down.
It was. You're right. You're right. You're right.
So her house is still fine.
You're right. Okay.
I just realized, like, oh yeah, like she does have a place to go to technically, unless they've again, it's only been like a few weeks, so like they condemn that house quickly. Or
all right, never mind. I'll shut up now.
No, like it's just like.
No, honestly, that counters this whole thought, because my whole thought is like, where is she gonna go at this point? She has no money and no house to go. Like, how is she even typing this on the internet if she doesn't have like a computer anymore?
But she does.
But she does, because her house didn't burn down.
Yeah,
That's why. But that's fine. So that's all for my notes.
Okay. Then I suppose we'll move on to actual.
Oh, really? I get to do them all over again? Thanks.
Yay. Then I suppose we move on to final thoughts with that. So yeah, I'm gonna partially recommend this one. I'm not saying it's like on the high end. It's like probably like middle ground, probably at best. Yes, it's another origin story for a Jeff the Killer mythos story thing. Yes, there's a lot of typos and grammar issues, but I didn't hate the writing otherwise. Like, I actually didn't mind reading this story. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, is it because it felt like, does it feel like it kind of felt like a cozy, familiar story? But I think that's just, but is that because I've read this story like a dozen times at this point with Jeff the Killer origin stories? But like, it does something different with the origin in that we get it from Jane's point of view, and like it helps intertwine her origin with Jeff, and like gives us the reason why Jane hates Jeff. Like, we have veritable evidence as now. Whereas, like, again, like listening back to our original episode that covered Jane's letter, like literally had 6 minutes definitively, like, we hated it because it gave us nothing about Jane. Like it told us nothing about Jane.
It's an origin story with no origin in it or story.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas this is like, this is the true story for Jane the Killer's origin, is like, because it actually gives us a bunch of information about her life before she became one of the angsty teen killer creepypasta trope, but also gives us a reason for why she's after Jeff, and like, and why she does how she looks and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I like it for that, and it felt pretty, like the story, like the actual like writing was pretty good aside from all of the typos and grammar issues, but those are easily fixed with a round of editing. And so yeah, like I gonna give this a partial recommendation because it wasn't a bad read. Dare I say I almost enjoyed it. So
it's a Jeff the Killer story. You're not allowed to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Ignore those 1 or 2 times that I said that I actually enjoyed that story.
Including last week.
Oh, fuck. Wasn't it partial last week?
Yeah, it was partial last week too. And like, you were the only one who was partial. Like, I was actually against it, and like we had a bit of a heated back and forth as to like why like about it. So yeah.
I wasn't in my right mind.
Neither of us were, I think.
No.
But yeah, Mikey, your verdict.
Well, as I stated, my main issue is the bleach again, and all that wonderful stuff, how it's not flammable. And
it's repeating, considering it keeps happening.
Yeah.
Well, to give it some credit, I mean, the media does change a lot of things, like explosions are much bigger in movies than would actually happen in real life.
Yeah, there's a cinematic realism.
Yeah. So I would almost say that there's a Jeff the Killer universe where bleach is flammable.
Uh-huh.
But
aren't we meant to believe that the Jeff the Killer universe is our universe, though?
Guys, it's the JCU, the Jeff the Jeff.
Don't give it a name.
The Jeff Creepypasta universe.
As soon as you give it a name, it becomes real. You know the power of words.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And as Gamer pointed out, like, why did she leave the hospital?
Yeah, that also, yeah, so that she didn't have to ask any. We didn't have to ask any weird questions about like where she's going to end up, or like why is she going out, and so like there's a bunch of extra. Basically, it would have elaborated the story a little bit more, because we would have had some more interaction with like maybe extended family, or like her, whoever's taking care of her after.
Mm-hmm.
But no, she escaped and became a runaway kind of thing. So,
or she just went home because she has a home. That's the thing.
Well, she has a home for now, but like, but yeah, unless she like, again, it still asks more questions. Because she's gonna have that home for a little bit, and then people are gonna ask her, or she's gonna start showing up, because like more adult things are gonna start like coming into play, like who owns the house. Was it in a will to her? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if their parents have any siblings, it might actually go to them because they're adults.
Exactly, because like we keep forgetting Jane is a teenager in this story, or was a teenager in this story. Like she may not be when she's typing this, but right now, like she was like she was going to high school, so she was still supposed to be under the care of her parents when this happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as I said before, there is a section that I like, which is the concept of telling another story from a different perspective.
Yep.
Which we get to see the Jeff the Killer origin story through the neighbor's eyes. So in that regard, the story might be better if you were to read them sort of back to back.
Wait, are you like telling people to read the original Jeff the Killer story?
Well, because they're straight up connected. Like if you read the first story and then you read the Jane the Killer bad one and then this one, that is the trifecta of like how these are meant to be experienced.
And then we just need one that's like a homicidal Lou story that like I'm not sure if like the homicidal Lou story is specifically the one, like the original one. I don't know how it plays out in terms of like Jeff like scarring him and some of that, but yeah, it's the same. Like there, we get the trifecta. Like Jane's letter and then this story are both like connected. Like they fall under the same kind of like category. We have Jeff the Killer, Jane the Killer, homicidal Lou. Because like we said, Lou wasn't technically at that table.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. But as it stands, we've read too many Jeff the Killer stories, and this again is technically the majority of it is a rehash of the Jeff the Killer story, but from someone else's eyes.
Yeah, with an
it's a Jeff the Killer story with a third-person mod added onto it.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah. Well, the way I see it, it's like it's basically the Jeff the Killer origin story, but with an interesting twist and gimmick.
One thing I kind of wanted to do was go back and see if the quotes that are said by Randy and Jeff were actually pulled from the original story, like exactly. Like specifically in regards to like Randy saying like if anyone interrupts this, there'll be guts or whatever he says there.
I mean, there's nothing stopping us from trying to check that.
Yes, there is. I will not search for Jeff the Killer.
I'm on
it. Up the original story.
I got you, fam.
Okay, good. Search for guts. I'm pretty sure he said guts. Did he say guts?
Oh my God! Is there? Hang on, I gotta find it. I actually gotta find it.
This is not really on worth it.
Not on the. I agree, Lucy. I'm also disgusted with what I'm doing right now.
Are you saying that the Jeff the Killer story is not on the Jeff the Killer wiki?
It's not on the wiki. It's actually on creephouse.com. Oh no, it's not even. It's like explanations about Jeff the Killer. God damn it!
Don't worry about it. Look it up later. It'll be on Just the Kittens or something.
Yeah.
Regardless, where are we?
Who are you? Oh yeah. So I'm guessing still non-recommendation there, Mikey.
Yes, still not recommending.
Okay. Then Gamer, your final verdict.
Well, as far as this being a Jeff the Killer story, I can't recommend it for the fact that it's a Jeff the Killer related story. So in that aspect, I don't like any of them, generally speaking. But this one itself, I do like that it did something a little different because it's, as Mikey said, it's showing someone else's perspective of what happened. I kind of wish this character was actually in the previous one because this character's never brought up previously. It's like those events never happened, you know? But I guess it does straight up say that she doesn't talk to Jeff.
Yeah.
That she kind of gives an excuse as to why she wasn't in the previous story.
Yeah, and like this could have happened again after Jeff the Killer, the original Jeff the Killer story. Everybody that she talks to, like she talks to Lou, she doesn't talk to Jeff. And even like when she goes to help with the fire extinguisher stuff, he's already passed out at that point from his injuries. Yes. So we wouldn't have got that in that story. Yeah. So
was Jeff the Killer story a first person perspective? I don't remember. I guess it was.
I think it was.
It probably was.
Been a while since I've looked at the original story.
Not important. Anyways, this one itself, it's mostly competent. You found a crap load of grammar-related things that I did not see. Yeah. I just passed them, probably partially because of just time-limiting factor, but I didn't really stumble through the reading much. There weren't many speed bumps along the way. And I like the whole idea of it being a connection to like this short crummy story that was connected before it, saying like, and it's the character saying like, no, that is not true, this is true. I like that. I hate that the whole reason for the story isn't really explained. It's the main thing that's explained from the story is her hatred of Jeff, not the fact that she isn't a murderer like he is.
Yeah.
Which is a glaring issue in my eyes.
Yeah, because like the story, it's almost like a thesis. Like you start with your opening thesis thing, and then like give all the proof, and then you don't really like you don't really finish the essay properly. Like you forget about your thesis.
You get so wrapped up in it, you're just telling a story at that point.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, like that part really bugs me, but that could also be easily edited with just like, instead of saying the gross over exaggeration, just saying like, I'm not like him, I don't kill them, I save them. There, it's fixed. Like that one line fixes the whole ending, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I assume that's what it's wanting to say, but it really doesn't at all.
But it really doesn't say that.
No, it still makes me think like it's like the original one where she's going around killing them because, and like imagining that they're Jeff or whatever the hell she says in that one.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Don't worry, I'll save you. Stab.
Don't worry, you won't be killed by Jeff.
Yeah. Which ironically, they're still being killed by a GTK.
Oh wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I'll still partially recommend it because I like that it took something, it did, then like this other thing came out of it, and then they're like, no, that's wrong, I'm going to elaborate on it. Like that whole concept is neat, and it's cool seeing a story being told from a different perspective and have it trying its damnedest to explain why this character wasn't in the previous one, which it does a pretty good job of, honestly. So credit where credit's due.
It's sort of like those like prequels that they make after a movie has come out, and where like they have shots where you can see in the background the character from the previous movie, like, and you can even see like that like the character in the prequel is passing by a scene from the previous movie, but like they don't interact. But there's sort of a nod that they're there. So it's sort of like that kind of interaction that like a prequel has, or like a story that tells again from a different perspective, but like gets away with like why wasn't that stuff like shown in the other story is because like they never really interacted. They were sort of like indirectly interacting, or like they were like ships in the night, passing each other, kind of thing.
So overall, I'm going to leave it at a partial. It could be easily fixed to make it a partial plus, I guess, because that's still a Jeff the Killer story. But yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of her trying to counter him by like protecting people.
Yeah.
Although with no instances told of her protecting people, I don't know if she's succeeding at all with that. Or if she's just trying to chase him down after the kills and try to get him as he's leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my 2 cents on it, basically.
All right. So and that has been this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. Some of us are on Blue Sky. Mikey is at the East Ends for Evil, and I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTS@gmail.com, where you can also leave suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah! And if you'd like to help support our show financially, go to Patreon. We have special episodes, early access, and extra content. To all our patrons helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it would be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without these stories that you write and post online to the various wikis, Reddit, No Sleeps, all that kind of stuff, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for Evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.
And go to sleep.